Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've got another inexpensive diamond wheel here that I got from AliExpress, and I was wanting to set it up and use it for the first time, and I'm noticing a couple of interesting facts about it. But first of all, I want to show you guys that this isn't beveled in any way. This entire surface with the diamond, and I believe this gray here is the bond that they used, the bonding agent or the resin bond, and it's just flat. Well, now I suppose that would be fine if you were just grinding all the way across something and then off. I mean, I don't know if this bond would really what would happen actually if you ground with that. I don't know, but in theory the diamond part here would work fine being flat if that's what I was doing, but that's not what I want it for. What I actually want it for is to sharpen cutters more like this, where I want it to do its cutting as it's coming across, and then I want the outer edge raised so that when I get to this position nothing's touching anymore, and that's so that I don't get any stupid lines and things appearing in my finished surfaces. If this was grinding all the way across, then who knows what you'd end up with. And that would become especially apparent if you were putting a secondary angle, say on the end of an end mill, where you have a primary and a secondary angle. If there's any stupid stuff going on, that'll really show up. And that's why I just want my cutting edge to be around the outside only, and all the rest of this to be clearance. So I'm going to modify that today. But before I get going on that, when inspecting this thing, the first thing I noticed was it sort of looks like a beaver chamfered this hole. And it's just incredibly jagged. It's a real mess. There's high spots sticking up into the bore. So first off, I'd like to fix that chamfer, get rid of those high spots, make it something that someone's not going to cut themselves on. So I'm going to start by throwing it in the lathe and we'll see how she looks. In theory, this bore should run pretty darn true to the outside of the diamond on here. So let's see what happens. I've got this in my 3-jaw now, which runs pretty darn true. And I just want to see what that hole is doing. And it is horrendous. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin the lathe up here so we can see exactly what's going on. So you can see the bore, it's just flopping. And in fact, this transition line from the angled part of the wheel to the flat part of the wheel, that transition line is running out. It appears that these features are running true to the bore, and they seem to be running out the same amount as the bore and in the same place. So a couple different ways I could handle this. I could make the bore true to the OD of the wheel, or I could consider making the OD of the wheel true to the bore. So what I need to determine is which one of those is going to waste the least amount of diamond, and that's a real easy call, because to true the diamond up to the wheel, I'd be eating away at a whole bunch of this diamond, whereas to true the bore up to the diamond, we're just losing some aluminum. So as far as preserving the diamond on this, the smartest thing to do would just be to give this thing a brand new bore that runs true to the diamond, and then also remachine the aluminum so that it's not just crazy out of balance like this would be if I just left the aluminum running out like that. So before I do anything over there in the lathe, what I'd like to do is have it supported not by the OD like we did there, but by the bore in my tool and cutter grinding fixture here, so that we can see how everything runs and how bad it looks when I'm running off of the bore. Okay, so right away, that's not going to work. That's a horrible fit, but that's fine. Now we know we have to redo the bore, and we'll make everything run true to the diamond. I've got a little chunk of material here. It's a plastic sort of thing. It's called Cetol, and I'm going to use it to make a new wheel bushing, because I'm going to open this bore up until it runs true, fix the chamfers, but then it's going to be a oddball diameter bore, but then I'm going to make a bushing to suit. I'm going to press that in, and then I'm going to make it the bore on this bushing so it's a nice tight slide onto the arbor shaft of my tool and cutter grinder so that it won't need to be dialed in every single time I use it. When I threw this wheel in here before, you can see it lands kind of in this clearance. And I know that these raised spots are ground true. I don't know that these clearances are perfectly true. Actually, I would guess they're not. So I need to find something adequate that I can space these out so I'm actually gripping it on the true area. So I'm going to dig something up for that, and then we'll come back to setting this up in here. I've found some spacers now that are just about perfect. They have the outside of the diamond surface running on a part of the chuck that I know is nice and true. And so that should keep the outside of this running true as we work on the bore. Let's have another look at this and see how everything's looking. So the diamond part is running nice and true. Again, this bevel's running out and our bore's running out. So I'm going to true all those features up. I'm not going for a particular nominal size here. I just want it cleaned up and running true. Turning my compound to 45 degrees, just roughly 45 degrees, so I can put this chamfer in here. I'm going to get this beveled area trued up here now, and I fully suspect that as I get to the end of it, I mean, it's raised a little from the diamond, just a little. So if I'm real lucky, I can clean this up, make it run true, and not be into the diamond. If I do get into the diamond area, it's going to fry my tool bit really quick. So I've got just sort of an old beater of an insert here that I've been grinding away at by hand. It's a bit of a mess already. If I do ruin it, it'll be no great loss. So I'm gonna go with that. So I'm dialing my compound rest in to match this bevel, and I am gonna want my dial reasonably close to the center of this, because here we are once again dealing with a taper, and center height becomes critical. Now this is essentially an aesthetic feature, so we're not going for any crazy precision here, but gonna make it decent. So once again, we're dealing with a taper here, and so it's also important that my cutting tool be pretty darn close to center if I want to actually recreate the surface that we picked up with the dial that was pretty darn close to center. That tool actually does not seem the least bit happy about doing what I'm asking it to do. Yeah, it's making a mess. So we're going to change that insert. Oh, it's much better. I'm not going to go off the end of this aluminum because that's where things could want to get stupid on us. And this isn't cleaned all the way up yet. So we're going to start by cleaning this all the way up, and then we'll finish off the end there. Tiny bit chattery. I'm okay with that. I'll clean that up with some emery. It'll be fine. That's all aesthetics. These inserts are super high pressure insert. I'm really not happy with them. You would need a much more rigid lathe to really do justice with these. I'm currently looking around to see if I can find something that's much more free cutting, but that'll fit in these holders. If anyone knows of a triangular insert that'll fit in these sort of standard holders that has a much more aggressive chip breaker on it and a much more aggressive cutting angle, probably a smaller radius, that's what I'm looking for. So feel free to leave in the comments if you know something that's more like that. So that's decent. I'm happy enough with that. Again, we just got that running true, both for aesthetics and for balancing purposes. So that'll suit my needs just fine. So that's it for now for wheel modifications. I'm moving on to the custom bushing. I know my part is right around 300 thou wide. And I'm going to be wanting to run my part off tool in there. And I still have to face it, so I need a little more than that sticking out so that I don't run into clearance issues later. One little feature here that I didn't explain earlier is on this bushing I'm making, it's going to have a slight 45-degree kind of raised portion there, and I want that to go in this side of my wheel. And the reason being, I'm going to make this bushing so it's a very snug slip fit onto my grinding arbor. So much so that I would be a little concerned when I go to pull the wheel off that the bushing might want to stay behind with the arbor, not come off with the wheel. So that little 45-degree lip is going to ensure that as I pull my wheel off the arbor, the bushing comes with the wheel. What I'm doing now is I'm just adjusting this tool so that it'll cut that 45 I'm looking for. That looks pretty decent right there. So I'm all set to cut my angle, but first I need to get a nice clean face on this thing, and so we're going to do that first, and then we'll start with turning the OD down and producing that angle. I'm just going to set up a stop because it's important where that 45-degree angle is in relation to the diameter itself. I'm right at the corner now, so I'm going to start there. I know that the body of this bushing is going to be a 1/4 inch long, so I can move over a 1/4 inch and then set a 0, and then I'll know where to stop my carriage every time. Just have to set the overall length of this now. We're ready to part off. Okay. Beautiful. This settle is very soft, so not getting too fussy working my way up here in drill bit sizes. I'm just going to go 3/8 half, and then I'm going to bore from there. I've got a decent interference fit between that bushing and the wheel, so I have very, very little concern that I'm actually going to push that bushing out with my drilling force. I don't think for a second that that's going to happen here. And that boring bar is a little big. I think we're going to need something smaller in there. Before I get too close to my finished size in that new bushing, I'm going to take my wheel arbor out of the grinder here so I can bring it over and fit it up in place. Get a nice accurate fit on that bore. All that burr on the back is giving me some false readings there.
Ooh, there's a mess back there.
So there, I'm happy. I got the fit that I was looking for. It's on there good. So that's perfect. That's just what I wanted. That'll locate identically every single time. So let's move over to the tool and cutter grinder and start relieving this and turning this plate into a dish. When I had this in the lathe, this was in the back. This was sticking out the front. I stuck my deburring tool through to get rid of this massive burr that was there. And it did a pretty gross job. I mean, it deburred the hole. Looks like heck, but it's really not hurting anything. Just aesthetics, it's just gonna bug me forever. Everyone else, it's fine. This, I am super happy with. Nice tight fit, it's on there. Can't wait to see how it runs. Put a dial on here as soon as we get it tightened down. So 3 or 4 thou. I suspect that that's just the unevenness of the diamond on there. Let's see how she looks. Well, we're pretty much ready to turn this plate into a dish. I've got, well, first of all, I had my graduations on 0 on this knuckle. And I dialed this in 0 to this axis by adjusting these ones.
All your hands.
And now I've moved it 3 degrees so that I've tipped it this way. So I'm going to be grinding a concave dish shape here. Now this motorized workhead is dialed in true to the table. And I'm going to have them both spinning in the same direction. And I do have them both at the same center height. That's important because we have a bit of an angle going on here. And I'm just going to relieve away this excess bond. I believe it's a resin bond. And I'm going to taper this diamond up, and I'll probably leave a little flat of about 1/16 of an inch on the edge. And then this will be in proper configuration for the sort of work I want to do with it. I've seen a few different methods of wheel dressing, and in one of them, there's a fixture that you mount a grinding wheel on, but it's not a motorized fixture. It has bearings, and it's free to spin. And I mean, that was interesting. Looked a little sketchy to me. I mean, it looked to me like that, at least in the example I saw, that the little thing was just right on the edge of exploding. So I find this is quite a controlled way to actually manage doing this work, and I can control the speed of both the wheel that I'm machining material off of and the wheel that's doing the cutting. And so it's a lot more dial-inable than just having a free-wheeling head holding your aluminum oxide wheel. So we're going to give this a try. I did not dress my aluminum oxide wheel. This process will dress it. So far, we're just hitting that bond. Interesting. Seems almost, I mean, I have no idea what it is. Kind of acting like a clay powder almost. I think think we're down to aluminum there. Pretty sure that's what we're seeing. Now that's really plugging my wheel up now that it's aluminum. I'm gonna keep going a little, see what happens.
Sounds different when it gets touched.
Yeah. I'm gonna put a little marker on there so we can all see what's happening. I think I'm going to need to dress my aluminum oxide wheel. It's plugged right up in aluminum now. I'm just going to give that a little lick and we'll get back to it. You can see we're just starting cutting into the diamond now. So we're going to want to go until, probably I've got a 16th or an 1/8 of an inch left, something like that. So there's our finished effect. You can see this little bit of marker over here. That's showing what's still part of a flat disc. And the rest of this, if I show you like this, has all been nicely relieved, dished out. So now, when I come in with a cutter like this, I know it's hard to do. Cutting, 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 not cutting or touching anywhere, and then cutting, 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 which is exactly how I want this to work. So I've left it, approximately an 1/8 of an inch of flat there. If it turns out that's not quite enough, I may take a wee bit more away. Now I put a 3-degree angle on here, and grinding this aluminum was a real bear. Aluminum just gums up and plugs up and balls up, and it's an absolute disaster to try and grind aluminum. At least that's been my experience. So any more work that I do to this face of this wheel, I'll do it at 2 degrees. So I'm not having to deal with the aluminum, I'm just dealing with the diamond, and that should go much easier. But for now, I'm happy with this. I'm going to try it like this. And as far as I'm concerned, this is ready for me to use the first time I need it to now. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.